Hey guys.
Welcome back to the Awfully Irish podcast. How you all getting on, guys?
Pretty good.
Well,
Pretty,
over
pretty.
here.
So today we have a very, very special guest. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Brandon Crane. I'm a washed up actor. No, I'm I'm the kid from It
Ooh.
from like 30 years ago.
Ah.
Yeah,
For
it's been a
Oh, yeah.
while.
people who have not seen the old one and just seen the new one, that probably was very confusing there for a second.
Right, for
Yeah,
sure.
there's.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy Ray Taylor. I've got hair down to my eyeballs. No, I'm not Jeremy Ray Taylor, unfortunately. No, nice kid, by the way.
Mm.
Super nice kid. I met him at a convention a couple years ago in Atlanta, and nicest kid ever.
Mm.
And when I went to Toronto to shoot It Chapter 2, we missed each other by hours. They
Oh,
were finished doing their bit, and it would have been nice to see them. But we saw them in Germany. We've yeah, we've we know Jeremy Ray Taylor well.
that's good.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, you'd have to if he's playing your character that you played 30 years ago. So
Yeah, no. I when they announced the casting, I reached out to him and told him that he shouldn't let the clown push him around too much. Um, and he responded, and he's like, "I won't let you down." And dude, I don't know
oh,
if you see the movie, it's blatantly obvious he could never have let anyone down. I think he turned in a great performance.
he was very good now.
Yeah,
But back to you anyway. So 1990. So how did that come about?
it was just an audition. I had read the book about 6 months before, and it actually put my agent on notice because there was a lot of Stephen King stuff being done at the time.
Yeah.
And I just read the book about 6 months earlier. So when the call came, I I wanted Ben so badly because I was very much like Ben, and it was a shot for me to kind of steer away, at least momentarily, from the stuff that I'd always done. I'd really only ever done comedy before, and I was always, comic relief or the token fat kid or, not particularly substantive. So got the call and I auditioned for it, and I fought like hell. I mean, so many times you go into an audition and you think, "Oh, this is the one. I nailed it. It was the best audition ever," and they don't even call you back because it really has very little to do with that. Then
Yeah.
somehow, I mean, you can't take it personally as an artist. Um, but this particular instance, I went through several callbacks. We did chemistry reads with other kids, and I think it was and so much time had passed in between the callbacks that each time I felt I'd lost the part. I hadn't, obviously I guess I didn't get it no matter how good of a shot I thought I gave it. It didn't work out. And then they'd call. So I'd prepare myself for the rejection, and then they'd call again. So anyway, I was at this last chemistry reading, and Jonathan Brandis was there. A lot of the people were there, not everyone. And we were just pairing up kids to see who got on the best, and there weren't any other Bens at this audition. So I asked the cameraman when we were taking a break, because I was staying in there and they were rotating in other kids. And I thought, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Hey, dude, where are the other Bens? And the cameraman, and you never do that. But I was, 14. I'm going to do that. And the cameraman said, no, it's just you. They're looking at a kid in Houston and they're looking at a kid in Vancouver. But we think it's going to be you. Thought that's amazing.
Yeah.
Then time flew after that. I mean, weeks, a couple weeks at least. And I thought, well, I guess they went with the kid from Vancouver. And then I got the call. And it was literally report to set in Vancouver. So we packed up and went to Vancouver. And I got a haircut. And they sent me back home to LA. The most expensive haircut ever. But it was good. You know, they did wardrobe fittings and all that stuff. It didn't make sense to do all that stuff in LA.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then a couple weeks later, went back, met all the other kids, and we spent the next 2 months making pretty cool miniseries.
Yeah. Very cool is an understatement. Jesus. I think like before the 2017 film and obviously the sequel, like before, like I don't think there was any other adaptation. So like that was the one true kind of thing, and people still think that, like, because like Thomas, your mic.
Oh, sugar. Sorry. Better.
You guys, you guys still have GSM over there? No, yeah, it was cool. There's two parts to that though. For us, is
Yeah.
we can't believe how well it's aged.
Yeah.
By and large, with the exception of some of like the Harryhausen-esque, effects of the day, and of course it's mostly practical. Now we can get away with anything with CG. Um,
Yeah.
Apart from all of that, it's still held up, and none of us for a second thought that this would have any kind of shelf life. I mean, it was
Yeah.
made for TV, and back then, most things that were made for TV, unless like John Travolta was in it, never ended up on video store shelves. It just wasn't a thing. So after it aired, they treated it like it was a movie. So it had a full, you know, VHS release. It had a DVD release a couple years later. I mean, we didn't think for a second that it would have the legs that it's had, and be playing on American Thanksgiving instead of It's a Wonderful Life. Like no one ever thought that would be the logical use for that film. So I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. It really is. I remember like the first time I saw it now, because I was meant to watch it for ages. Now, my older brother, he watched it when he was like super young, and he was like terrified of it. And like, so that's why we'd never watch it in our house. So like, I just be like, oh yeah, how about we watch it? He's like, no, no, we're not watching that.
Right.
And like, so I remember the first time I watched it. Now I must have been like 12 or 13, and like, it wasn't scary to me. It was just like the practical effects. Like everyone loves practical effects. So many people complain about CGI nowadays that like seeing something different, it was pretty good, because like I know that in some shots they had like claymation and stuff for like the
Yeah, I
kid
mean,
going down the drain and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a bit like quirky, but it's nice to see, because everything nowadays is like digital effects. So
it
but
is.
yeah, I remember seeing it, and it was just a huge thing. Like I think that must have been the first Stephen King adaptation I'd seen, and just changed. Like now I love horror movies and I love Stephen King, and it very special place in my heart for that miniseries.
That's awesome. That's amazing, and that's the kind of stuff that we hear when we go to conventions and things, and
Yeah,
it never gets old. It
exactly.
really it's amazing. Like to think that I was a part of something that people still relate to. I mean, there's people that have gone so far as to say that the way the Losers Club came together, they found their own Losers Club in their school, and it helped them cope with issues that they have, abusive
Yeah,
parents, or you know being bullied, and it kind of touches your heart, and you just think, when we did this, it was just a job, it was just a mini series,
yeah,
and again, we didn't think it was going to go anywhere. Besides, I mean, Misery had just come out. I mean, they were
yeah,
doing full blown feature films, and um, and Tommy Lee Wallace, the director, said in the documentary that's coming out in a couple months that we had champagne dreams in a beer budget, and we really did. That we
yeah,
would pull off something twice as long as a normal feature for way less money, um, and to have people still enjoy it is really saying something.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's cool.
It's awesome.
It really is cool. Yeah, Like just yeah, it's always on TV as well. Like you'll every couple of months, it's always back somewhere. And like if you hear about it, you're like, oh, I'm definitely gonna watch that. Like it's a must. But so I was wondering what was Tim like on set? Because obviously after that, like just costumes and pictures of Tim were everywhere.
Right.
Being the clown, and just so many kids were terrified of that. So what was he like?
He was pretty quiet. I mean, consummate professional. He was in his space. He wasn't one of those unapproachable, very method actors. At least the way I remember it. And we didn't really work together much. So, like for example, when we met, he was just finishing his part of the scene where he's taunting me on the lake. So they shot his bit on the water first, and then I acted to nothing, because it was all from his POV pretty much.
Yeah.
But we met. We were like passing ships. And I was already a fan of Tim Curry anyway, because he was just in The Hunt for Red October at the time, which was my favorite movie at the time. He was on a show called Wise Guy. It was my favorite show at the time. So I knew him very well. But when I went to meet him, I was really kind of starstruck, and he was really effusive. He was like, "Hey, here I am. Nice to meet you," and then he just kept walking. I mean, it was, I guess we're here to just do a job. Great to meet you. We'll see you later. And then we wouldn't see him as a group until we were fighting him in the sewers. So when we were on that soundstage, there was a lot of downtime, and that's a lot of the photos of him like holding the Mad magazine with all his kids. He's got a cigarette in his hand. That stuff wouldn't fly these days. That's for sure.
Mm.
But he's so nice, and he made time for us. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that's.
It's kind of sad to hear that he wasn't a crazy clown maniac who, whenever you saw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I mean Emily had an experience where I think it was the first time they met, and he knew her name. So she was walking by and said, "Hello, Emily," and then she looked, and he kind of sneered at her. I think he was playful in that, but he wasn't. Again, he was still approachable.
Was he in full makeup when he did that though?
Oh, of course. Yeah, 100%.
Jesus.
There's so many great pictures of him just hanging out. I mean, he's like in his director's chair with a cigarette, or he's holding an umbrella with a cigarette.
Yeah.
The man loved his cigarettes.
Pretty incredible. Yeah. Jesus.
Awesome.
So what would you say was your favorite scene to film? Because like obviously there was like so many, like the Bowers scene and the classroom and stuff like that.
I think my favorite scene to film was when I get jumped by Henry Bowers.
Yeah.
Because I was 14 and I thought, it felt cool. Like we practiced the stunt, we practiced falling, we practiced all that stuff. And there were a couple of takes that we did where I fell backwards, and they had, safety and stuff. There's an amazing stunt double who I must have been wearing a pillow, who did a lot of the tumbling. Yeah. But that whole sequence was I think my favorite to shoot because I felt like an action hero. I felt like I could say I'm doing my own stunts, whatever.
Yeah.
That means. Yeah. And then I think that the second favorite bit was out front of Beverly's house with Jonathan, where you see the sort of triangle you know, where
Yeah.
Ben sees that Bev does not, that Bev likes Bill instead,
Yeah.
and how crushing that is for Ben.
Mhm.
That I think that was my second favorite scene, because it took longer than it should have, but also it was very sweet and actually required something that wasn't eating a Twinkie like I'd been used to doing for years on the Wonder Years.
Yeah.
You know
Of
what I
course.
mean?
Yeah.
Every,
Yeah.
every I guess every moment where I got to be something different was my favorite, because, like I said, I'd just been used to being fluff.
Of course. Yeah. When you were playing the character, did you like refer back to the book, or was it all by script?
It was always the script, but I mean, I remembered how I felt when I read the book,
Yeah.
and how much that related to my own life. I mean, I was, as an actor, I started getting more and more work from the time I was 8. So we lived near San Diego,
Yeah.
way southern California, and we incrementally moved closer and closer to LA as things got busier, right? So because of that, I was kind of transient. I never stayed in a school for more than a year or two. We were always moving. Like Ben, didn't have a father, um, and like Ben, I got picked on a lot for being fat, and so I was able to bring a lot of those truths. I'm not like going full blown actor studio James Lipton here. I'm just saying it's there were a lot of truths that I could let out, and
Yeah.
that really helped me live in the skin of Ben Hanscom, because in so many ways he was me.
Yeah. I know for a lot of people, like those characters are very relatable because, like, before that, like, they'd be kind of brought up a step. So like with the Losers Club and all that, like, before that was all like kind of jocks and stuff like that, and there wasn't many movies for the kids who were like getting picked on or whatever,
No, you're right.
and yeah, it was just very different for the time, like, and that's why I think it was so popular, like, uh, and you were still young like when that came out. So did you get any kind of backlash for that or bullying or?
Well, yeah, for some reason I always got bullied. Like, no matter what I did. Not that I expected it to make me cool at school,
Yeah,
right? But um, kids are mean. They can be mean. They will find the dumbest things to ridicule you over, if
yeah,
um, if they're, we make fun of what we don't understand. So kids were mean at school. Like, they thought being on TV was something to laugh at me about. It's just me doing my thing. Like, I'm not standing out front of their football practice ridiculing them for playing football. That was my thing. I mean, honestly, that was my
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So, um, yeah, I mean, it was there. It was present, but being able to spend so much time with adults, it gave me a different perspective on how to deal with that type of thing very early.
yeah,
Like, it it allowed me to kind of grow up emotionally. I don't want to say beyond them, but but in a way, yeah, past them, past that. So
yeah.
it didn't hurt as much because I knew that it was bullshit.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And when you were filming, was it all like would all the kids film at once and then like do the grown-ups do the different scenes, or was it like kind of mixed?
It was very mixed. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with location,
Yeah,
um, because we revisit so many different places. So we would knock out certain scenes. I mean, the first thing that I shot, and it's probably true for the rest of the Losers, I could be wrong, but it's when we're climbing down the ladder and I pick up the pom pom.
Thomas.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That
Sorry about that. Better, worse, so bad.
that's
Fair enough.
Yeah.
oh, you're good.
Sorry.
That was the one. that was the first thing we shot, and we were all terrified because the location was creepy. We were underneath, like an institution, like a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
And it turns out that psychiatric hospital has a pretty disturbing legacy. So there was this like really bad juju that you could feel just being there. And we were shooting underneath in this tunnel, and the tunnel was designed to transport bodies out of the hospital without the other patients seeing them.
Oh.
Right. Yeah. So it really had this strange kind of feeling. So that was terrifying, and knowing where we were and what it was for.
Yeah.
And then the other big part of fear that I know I channeled was that this was my shot to do something different, and I hoped to God I didn't suck.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what I was most terrified of, was being bad. And then once we got a few takes in, it was kind of like learning to ride a bike again. I was comfortable where I was, and the rest of the shoot was easy.
Yeah. Huh. That's
awesome.
Yeah,
no, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, Jesus, imagine. I'd say it was horrible. Like, down there. Just now, just thinking about that. If I go back and watch it, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's so much worse. Like,
did you ever hear the thing with the? Is it the? Oh, I can't think. It's one of those movies where.
What is it? Poltergeist?
The Poltergeist. That's what. Yeah.
Is it the Poltergeist thing where they used actual bodies? Yeah.
Yeah, they used actual skeletons because they were cheaper.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. There's like a curse around that movie now, apparently.
Yeah, there is a tremendous curse around that movie. There's a few of those movies in Hollywood where anyone associated with it somehow came up with it. I mean, the little girl had her. We had the same agent, so I mean, when she passed away, it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
But then once other people started passing in really inexplicable ways, it tells you maybe they shouldn't have messed with those skeletons, dude.
Yeah. Wasn't there a plane crash? I thought
there was.
Yeah, there was.
The plane crash was the girl, I think. The older sister, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's insane. Like,
Christ.
It was horrible. Another set of films like that is Superman. Well, at least before like the 2000s, anyway, because all the Superman actors had like something happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, going back to George Reeves, George Reeves. My grandfather and George Reeves were actually really good friends because they were in Gone with the Wind together. They were the two twins in the very beginning of the movie.
Oh, right.
And so they were really good friends. And my grandfather, until he passed, was convinced that he was murdered, that it wasn't suicide. But my grandfather was Fred Crane, who was his twin.
Wow.
Didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, and then Christopher Reeve. That was tragic.
Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to happen that way. So I hope everyone else is sleeping comfortably in a plastic bubble.
Mm.
Yeah, I hope the Superman curse is over.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he did do Mission Impossible, and that was cursed stuff. No, I'm messing. I'm messing.
But what was it? Like over the last few years, who was the Superman before Henry Cavill? Do you know, Thomas?
Brandon Routh, I think.
I think it was, yeah. Just check it there, double check. I don't want to be wrong here.
I think it was Brandon Routh.
It is.
I think it was,
George Reeves. Apparently, it was George Reeves.
Wait, no, that was the original. Look up. When did the last Super? It must have been like 2006.
Yeah, 2006 was.
Brandon Rue, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's okay, and obviously Henry Cavill, he's still around.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully the end is put to that curse anyway.
Hmm.
But so have you ever met Stephen King yourself then?
I haven't. It's a crime against humanity.
Ah,
Honestly,
That's
honestly.
a shame.
that is a
Um,
shame.
and I missed him by days when I went to Toronto to do chapter 2.
Yeah.
They had just wrapped all the stuff they did up in Port Hope, their sort of idyllic town setting of Derry, and they
Yeah.
moved back to the city to do all the other stuff. I mean, the day that we did the boardroom scene, as soon as they were done with that, I mean, we put in a full 8 hours on that scene, and they went and shot all of the stuff with Eddie
Yeah.
driving the limo.
Mm.
I mean, that's the clip that they worked at. It's amazing. But yeah, I
Mm.
missed him by days. I was so
Oh,
bummed out.
that's such a shame.
The,
Yeah.
the driver that picked me up from the airport to take me to the warehouse told me that Stephen King had just left.
Oh,
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Oh, I couldn't imagine it.
Wow. But someday,
Oh,
someday
definitely. You'll have to.
maybe I'll have to just go to Bangor, Maine, and pretend to be a newspaper delivery person.
Like, aren't you Stephen King? And he's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, aren't you
it's
Ben? It's just like,
that will never happen. That will never. No, when I was man, I was in like my mid-20s. I was living in LA, and I was doing musical theater at the time, which was a nighttime thing. So I also had a day job, and I was a messenger. It's a great racket because you can basically work whenever you want. It's perfect for actors too. So I'm sitting in Century City, and I get a message to go pick up some a package of bills,
yeah.
and it says "Do not disturb occupant." And it said T. Curry. I was like, really, really, okay. So I go to Tim Curry's house as a messenger, right? And I'm going. Yeah, I know, and I'm going to pick up his bills to take back to Century City to his accountant. Um,
Yeah.
we're talking about like invoices for Entertainment Weekly magazine and stuff like that. Like, could be bothered to write those checks. Um, but hey, that's cool, man. He earned it. So I get there, and I'm having this battle with myself. Do I knock on the door? It says the stuff's in the mailbox. Do I plead ignorance? I'm not going to Tim Curry's house and not saying hi to Tim Curry.
Yeah.
So I rang the doorbell, and his wife answered, and was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the stuff you have we're shipping is in the mailbox." And I said, "Yeah, but is this Tim,
me,
is this
me,
Tim Curry's house?" And she said yes, and I said, "Well, okay, hear me out. Um, I worked with Tim on it," and she like a ghost face, like she just turned ghostly. She recognized me immediately and was like, "Hold on a second, Tim." Tim comes out, and we had a nice little conversation. We talked about how it was coming out on like DVD or something. I forget what we were talking about, but it was
Yeah.
it was cool to kind of rehash some of those old experiences and to feel like a peer, even though I'm delivering his mail. Um, it was an interesting moment, but I won't
Yeah.
forget it. And right after that, he did that Spamalot musical, and
Mm.
he or not he, but David Hyde Pierce, who was also in that, from Frasier and everything else. He and I had the same voice teacher, so kind of cool to be on the periphery of that. I'm a huge fan of Monty Python, so
Yeah.
like to be kind of on the periphery once or twice removed from that whole thing was really interesting too. So Tim Curry signed a can of Spam for me, and yeah, and the rest
Wow.
they say is history.
What are the chances of that though? That's
know.
like that's insane.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know. But I think it was the universe making sure that humility was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
You think of all the rejection that you have as an actor, and especially as a child actor. You know, these are all things that sort of put you in your place, right? So, most certainly, getting a text to go pick up Tim Curry's mail was the dose of humility that I sorely needed at the time.
Yeah.
It's great though.
Sounds great. But what was I gonna say? So I
so
remember.
weird. Sorry.
Yeah, it is. That's incredible how that would just happen. It's wow. It's weird to think about, but I guess
I'm just glad I didn't get fired for it. But you know what? I would have taken that.
yeah,
It would have been worth it.
of course, yeah. Um, so me and Tommy here, we went to see it one obviously when it came out in 2017, and then Chapter Two, we went to see in Double Bill, and I remember the second the boardroom meeting started, instantly recognized you. I was just like, Thomas, look who it is. I was like, it's Ben. And then like I remember looking it up after, and I was like, holy shit, it was. And it was just such like I didn't expect to see like anyone return from the original miniseries. And
No.
then just the second that hit, I was just like, hold on. So like how did that come about? Did you contact them or did they contact you to come back?
It's kind of both. It was really casual, actually. It was really weird. When the trailer dropped in March, I reached out on Facebook to Andy, the director, and I said, "You don't know me from anybody. I can't believe what I just saw. Like, I cannot wait to see what you've done with this thing, because there's been so many threats over the years of Warner Brothers doing a remake of it, and for whatever reason, citing the usual creative differences, whatever, it never seems to happen. So it's like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, when they announced that it was going to happen again. We're like, no, it's not. It's not going to happen again. Trailer drops. I was floored. I could not wait to see the movie. So anyway, I just reached out and was like, hey, dude, this looks amazing. I can't wait to see it. Best of luck to you. And that was it. And so he responded back almost immediately. It was like, hey, oh my God, it's you. How cool. We started talking about stuff. Fast forward a few months later, the film was released. I go to see it. And as soon as I got home, I got on Facebook and was like, Andy, that was incredible cinema. Like that exceeded my wildest expectations. So we started talking, and he said, hey, you should do a cameo. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. And then there's nothing, and it hit me for a second. This profile is not verified. For a while, I thought this whole time I had been speaking to some like super fan. Right? So I know Andy was verified on Instagram because that's his social media of choice. So I sent him a DM on Instagram, and I was like, oh, Okay, look, at the risk of looking like a complete imbecile,
Yeah.
here's a screenshot of me being offered a cameo in
Yeah.
the next film. Am I getting trolled here? Nothing. And worse than nothing, he left me on red for a
Oh.
little while.
Ooh.
Right. So I instantly thought, oh, he left me on red. Okay. Okay, you know what? That's cool. That's fine. No problem. He comes back a little while later and says, yeah, I'm the troll. And was I was talking to my wife at the time. I was like, the universe works this way? I'm getting a role in a feature film, and not just a feature film, like a big feature film
Yeah.
from Instagram. I mean, really? And so we talked about it. There were a lot of different, options we were thinking about. Being an employee of, of Beverly's who has a crush on her or something. We were trying to find interesting ways to tie it in, and
Yeah.
and so he and Gary came up with the idea of a kind of fake out,
Yeah.
which was interesting. It got cut quite a bit. In fact, most of the introductions were pared down pretty significantly. I think for time,
Yeah.
especially because in that boardroom, in that scene, the guy across the table from me is giving me an earful of shit about all this stuff, and the longer my presentation goes on, the more uncomfortable I get, and the more mistakes I make.
Yeah.
The more pauses I drink water. I start to lose my shit completely. But it just didn't. It wasn't necessary. It really wasn't necessary. So I'm glad you recognized it. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, the fake
A
out worked
lot of
because I
people
just
didn't.
went, "This is so different." I was just like, I wasn't expecting this. Is he bad? And then it's just like Skype, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's still just like,
No,
holy shit, though.
and Bill Hader had all of the press. Bill Skarsgård had all of the press. Jessica Chastain had all the press. So it could have worked for a moment. It could have worked for a moment, and there were a lot of people that was their instant inclination, and then there were a lot of people that didn't catch it at all. And there's so many things like on Reddit. I'll get a notification or something. Someone drops a name, and I'll look at it, and it's like, I had no idea. I've seen the film 3 times and I didn't even notice. So it's subtle. It's
Yeah.
totally subtle. It's not like, Stephen King's cameo or Peter Bogdanovich's cameo or even Andy's cameos.
Yeah,
Where
and
he's
his
at
cameo is
the
pretty
drugstore.
big, but he's still spottable.
Yeah, I think mine was definitely subtle, but Andy has a flair for the cameos. I mean, he wanted Guillermo del Toro to be the janitor when Ben is confronted by Pennywise in the locker room or in the hallway of the school. It didn't work out. I mean, so he thinks of all of that. I mean, he thinks of the trivia. This is why I think he's a great director. I think he's going to be amazing for the DC universe too, because he is a fan himself,
Yeah.
first and foremost. So he thinks of not just the straightforward storytelling, but he also thinks of the trivia. He thinks of the other points of interest that will make it more interesting.
Yeah.
So
He is very good in that regard, yeah.
so that's how it happened, man. It happened on Instagram.
That's incredible.
So
That's wow. And yeah, it was so good because I remember when the first trailer for It 2017 came out, and everyone was like very skeptical. Everyone was like, "This isn't gonna work,"
Yeah.
because so many remakes and so many reboots get so wrong.
Especially from Warner
Uh,
Brothers.
yeah, yeah,
There was a joke for a while that if Warner Brothers if their release schedule was light, it meant that every story had already been told twice. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was skeptical too. I really was until the trailer
I think
dropped, and I was
I
like,
think everyone was skeptical. Everyone was like, as soon as they heard it, they were like, I don't know. And then the trailer dropped, and I was still just a small bit skeptical. And I was just like, okay, now I'm believing this a bit more. And then I watched the film, and it brought back that same energy, the same kind of coming of age and like unity and stuff like that, and then
totally.
kind of sprinkled in a bit more kind of modern horror notes, and then like obviously chapter two, pretty long movie.
Yeah,
We were in the theater for 6 hours, I think,
Yeah.
altogether, including
Awesome.
intermissions. And then
I think the only break we got is when we had to run and get more cotton candy.
yeah,
There
it
you
was
go.
literally like it was like between that. We thought it was gonna be like a half an hour break, and then I went out, went to the toilet, got more food, went back in, and it was like starting already. I didn't know there wasn't gonna be any ads or anything, and
Oh
then I
wow.
was just, oh, okay, we're here, and but yeah, the second one, like I know a lot of people don't agree with the ending, but
Trust the ending though, right?
yeah, it's obviously like now I've only read maybe 75% of the book. So no, I don't know exactly how it ends, but it's I'd like to think it's pretty similar.
I,
Anyway,
I love the fact that the people who were that there was a large contingent of people who hated the ending of the miniseries, right?
yeah,
Myself included. It was totally anticlimactic.
yeah,
Um,
kind of rolled over a spider and then stabbed it.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
I didn't I didn't get it. Um,
of course.
I'm still proud of it, but
Yeah,
I,
of
I didn't
course.
I didn't get it. And then there were haters with the ending of chapter two, which it's like just stop the hate. I mean,
Exactly.
this is art. What would you have done considering you're not thinking of all of the nuance? You're not thinking about how much it costs. You're not
Yeah,
thinking about how difficult it is to tie in a story. I mean, Stephen King, especially it is not a linear book by any
oh,
means.
but no,
So
God
you
no.
are jumping from one place to another, and you go into these crazy, like with Maturin, and you go into these tangents uh, that somehow would make for an amazing 6 hour opera. You know, how are you going to translate that into film? I mean,
No.
even the story that Andy told in chapter two, they had like 4.5 hours of footage, from what I hear. The first cut was four
Yeah,
hours. So I mean, they had to shave, 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 and still somehow come up with a coherent, story, which he did
yeah,
masterfully. But it's the haters don't get the nuance. Let's put it that way.
yeah. It's true. Like the rest of the film was
Mm.
amazing, and like that, like as much as I say it was a small bit disappointing, but I don't hate it.
No, no.
Like the movie was great. It was a great movie.
Yeah, I
And
love the way the kids were shot too. I mean,
yeah,
the shot with Bev on the bike with Bill. I mean, it's very cinematic, and
mm,
we didn't have those moments in ours at all. I mean, it the teleplay didn't allow for it. I mean, it just wasn't.
yeah.
It's a
Well,
different world now. It's a
yeah, it
totally
is.
different world.
But I will say there were some scenes in the miniseries that I think kind of outweighed the new scenes. And I'm just like, not to say either is better because I love them all equally, but I think the rock fight in the original, it had a lot more kind of emotions behind it, and in the new one it was kind of played off for laughs.
It
No,
it
that's
was
yeah,
welcome now. I think it was welcome. I
yeah,
liked it actually, and I'm I grew up on Anthrax, so it
yeah. I
was
thought it was
nice.
hilarious. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
Antisocial was a pretty good pick for that one. So
but I just yeah, I mean there were some moments that I I agree with you. I
yeah, of
appreciate from
course.
that.
Hmm. No, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully not. Like, still waiting on the director's cut for chapter one and two, because I remember after chapter one came out, it was just like, oh yeah, Andy Muschietti has a director's cut in the works that's going to be like 3 hours long, and it has this scene and that scene, and I'm like, holy shit! And it's been 3 years. Like, I'm just like, holy,
Yeah, you will probably never see that.
oh,
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a shame,
I
I,
man.
know
I, I hope.
he's got a lot in the pipeline already. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
he's got Flashpoint. He's got a reboot for the Time Machine. There's gosh, what else is there? There's another a reboot on Attack on Titan. I mean,
Oh, I
there's a
didn't know
lot
that.
of
That in the
stuff. Yeah, there's
works.
a lot of stuff in his pipeline, and I think he's even developing a Robotech movie. I mean, how awesome is that? But it's yeah, he's got a lot going on. I remember when I came home from Toronto,
Yeah,
um, when I was there, Andy and Barb's agents were there, and I think they were finalizing some of the deals that we're talking about now. So it
Yeah.
was really nice to meet those guys, and I just remember sending him this GIF of like a bear on a unicycle, like juggling, you know, like, dude, slow down. Because in one day it was announced he was doing the Time Machine, and then the next day it was announced he was doing, you know, Attack on Titan,
yeah.
and I was like, bro, slow down,
Wait, is Attack
slow
on
down,
Titan confirmed that he's doing that?
slow down.
Is yeah, because I remember seeing like I've only seen one article about it, but is Attack on Titan confirmed that he's doing that?
Yeah, as far as I know.
My God.
Um, I
Now
know.
I hope he does it justice because now a lot of Western kind of movies or like adaptations of Japanese stuff like that, they don't really tend to stick the landing. But
No, you're right.
like seen from what he's made, like Mama and chapter one and two, obviously. If you treated it like a horror movie, I think you could go pretty far with that.
I think it'd be interesting to see his development. I mean, he's
Yeah,
moving into, the superhero universe right now.
yeah,
If, he came at it from the standpoint of the perspective of a fan,
yeah,
first and foremost.
of
So
course.
I don't think that will be any different
Yeah,
with the Flashpoint movie, and I don't think it'll be any different with Attack on Titan. I think he comes at it as a fan and an artist in his own right. I mean, the guy
yeah,
is the literal definition of um, like, dude, that guy he could literally do the Dos Equis commercials, right? If he would just gray out the beard a little bit, he could be the new Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man in the universe. The guy can play guitar, play piano, he can draw, he can direct, he can act, he can sing. Like,
yeah.
he makes the
He's
rest of
really
us
making
look
a
bad.
name for himself now.
He makes the
He is
rest of
making a
us look
name.
bad.
Yeah, that's true. He is making a name for himself though, like because like nowadays with kind of like so far pretty much all he's done is horror movies, and nowadays it's very rare to get a good horror movie. Like if you go back like maybe 20, 30 years, classics, all classics. Then in like the from 2000 to like 2010, it was just like okay, we're it's not really going anywhere.
I think
It's
it
all
was
just kind of
the genre just trying to figure itself out, because
Mhm.
yeah,
cinema evolved, I mean, what we see as a blockbuster now would have been unthinkable, 20, 30 years ago. I mean, just from a technical standpoint. And you had like the if we're talking about Attack on Titan, you look at like The Ring, you look at these movies that have massive, foreign influence, not foreign, I should say, Eastern influence. I think there was an embrace of those films, and that sort of helped the genre. I mean, it was the blood and guts of the 80s, the literal blood and guts, like the disembowelment and the shock and horror, the gallons of blood. But I think Andy pays homage to in it too, with the bathroom.
The world record. Isn't it the world record now?
You can't have too much blood, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and especially considering, I just think the genre had it had to find itself again, and it had to find a new audience. There are people who respect the old stuff. I think it needed to find something new, like with Andy and Mama, for example.
Yeah.
The way, and it's same thing with The Ring. A lot of other films, they explored things that weren't traditionally frightening, but were so unsettling, like things.
Yeah.
Movement, for example, like the Mama creature. She could have had Mickey Mouse's face, right? Yeah. But just the way that character moves is so like disconcerting. Like it's terrifying and uncomfortable. So I think we're just find new ways to freak you out, because the blood and guts thing is over. Like, we're so desensitized to that, it's comical. Yeah. You look at those classics, it's comical now. Yeah. So we need to find things that are a little bit more like psychologically unnerving.
Yeah. No, like from 2010 on, it was kind of, or even no, like from 2008 on, it was kind of remakes like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and they all kind of flopped. Mm-hmm. I know the Wes Craven estate is actually taking like pitches on a new Nightmare on Elm Street like franchise, I think. And I know that LeBron James was actually going to direct a new Friday the 13th. And he ended up.
I hadn't heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it was LeBron James. Yeah, but
LeBron.
I know it was pretty cool, but then I think some new law came in that after 30 years, like licenses and property of a film would go back to the original owner, regardless of like what company bought it or something. And so now they'd have to get permission off the people who own the characters or the rights and everything.
Well, interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard that. I don't know. So that's cool.
Same with Chris Rock. He's trying to make a Saw remake.
Oh, isn't he? No, he's already started that. It was it's called Spiral from the Book of Saw. It's like I don't know if it's a soft reboot or if it's set in the same universe. Anyway, it looks good. I know Samuel Jackson's in it. So
that's amazing. See what I mean? Like, so horror is becoming mainstream now, and I think because of that. And I just think we just have to have a more open mind of what constitutes horror.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at we could do an American political documentary right now, and that could be considered horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a real life horror film, man.
It is.
Yeah, some of the things that have come out now, I will like over the last 5 years, there haven't been many good horror films, but there have been some absolute gems. Obviously, the 8 movies, and then what Ari Aster is doing with like Hereditary and Midsommar and stuff like that.
Jordan Peele with Get Out and Us, and who directed The Lighthouse and The Witch? Is my mic?
Yeah, it's good now. Don't worry. I don't know who directed The Witch and The Lighthouse, but I know they're in the same company as Hereditary and Midsommar, because those 2 movies, they're not really about blood and guts. as you were saying. It's more like it's a slow build up, and it's kind of misdirection as well with the trailers or whatever. So they'll like
Nice.
mislead you to see
Nice.
this thing. Yeah. So they'll be like, oh, look, here's this character, and this character is going to be like the center plot point of the movie. And then it's like, boom, in the movie, it's like half an hour in, kind of a slow burn, character gets like killed off or something like that. And then you're just like, okay, what happens now? Like it completely throws you for a loop. And then just the psychological aspects in them, like Jesus,
Yeah.
like because
Much
you know,
better than
I,
Conjuring and all them and
oh
Annabelle.
god, yeah. But
Remember when we went to go see Annabelle, Dara?
yeah, I think I've told the story twice on the podcast, but we went to see, I think it was the third Annabelle movie, and so we're in the theater, and there was like it was like a dark doorway, and like on screen, and I was sitting thinking to myself, I was like, shit, like, how stupid would it be if like the doll just came flying out of the door right now? Like, it'd be so stupid. I was gonna say it to Thomas, but then I was like, nah, if I say it to Thomas, I'm gonna look like an idiot. 3 seconds later, the dog comes flying out the door, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I started laughing. And Thomas was like, "What are you laughing for?" And I was like, I was gonna predict that 5 seconds ago, but then I thought, nah, it'd be too stupid.
Right.
The whole jump scare genre of film, it's just
You probably weren't the only one.
yeah.
That's jump scares. Jump scares is a tricky. It's a slippery slope, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing. Like with our it, there weren't jump scares.
No, no.
No, you had this long lasting sense of foreboding. You know, you had this thick layer of this thick layer that you weren't sure, you know, what was going to happen.
Yeah, or like when the clown was going to show up or anything.
But you got to hand it to the jump scares though. If they're executed
they do get you.
really well and not predictable, I mean that's the hardest part too, because maybe the anticipation of thinking that dog's going to come to the door is on purpose. Maybe they want you to have that anticipation, whether it comes through or not. The joke's on you. You know?
Of course, yeah.
But
I think the thing with like recent movies is that it'll be a noise. Like there's no build up or anything. It's just like boom, you're scared, and then like obviously in the new It movies there were a few jump scares, but like what Andy did with them, like he had a build up. So like I think the one that was in the trailer for the first one was where Richie's in the room full of the clown dolls or whatever. Yeah. And he jumps out of the coffin, beep beep Richie, and then goes after him. You know, there was a build-up. It was like you didn't know if he was gonna grab him or if he was gonna go for him or whatever. And then, you know, they went with the jump scare. And obviously like it was like, okay, yeah, well it got you, obviously.
Yeah. And it was literally a jump scare.
Yeah, literally. And then right after that they went straight into the fridge scene, which is like one of the best scenes in that movie, where he just contorts out of the fridge. It's so like disturbing. You wouldn't like it. A body should not be able to move that way. So you're just
100%, 100%. And that's that thing I was saying. You know, with looking at the unsettling movement of characters, it's just not. It's not natural. So it gets you on a different level. It gets you on a different level.
It's very true, yeah. But yeah. Jesus. I never get to talk about horror movies, so like I go all out when it goes off on a thing.
That's good. You got to get it out of your system, man.
Exactly.
I'm here to help you.
Thank you so much. But,
there's some really good ones though, and then there's some not good ones, you know. But like, there's some really new good horror directors like Peele, Ari Aster, Jordan Eggers, you know, they're gonna do big things for the horror genre, and hopefully kind of save it, because in the last couple of years, just
Yeah,
nah.
there's been like it's just been sequel after sequel and like kind of. Now, I will admit there have been like now the Invisible Man reboot. I thought was good. I
Yeah.
thought
That
really,
was something else. Yeah,
yeah,
my
the way
wife and
they
I
and
we watched that a couple of weeks ago, and that was a great movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
like it wasn't like
Elizabeth
you weren't
Moss is
expecting.
great.
Oh,
Oh
she's a
yeah,
great actress. Yeah.
yeah. But I know that Universal are planning this whole big kind of like monster movie cinematic universe, and I think the next one is like Bride of Frankenstein or something. I think.
I think they should. I mean, I think it's something that's sorely missing. I'm sure their takes will be more camp, than what we're used to. But it is
Yeah,
those are those are the OG, characters in the horror canon. Like,
of course. Yeah,
get them out. We're going on 100 years now. Let them, you know, let them out of their cage. Let's
exactly.
let's
Yeah.
watch let's watch the bloodbath of the people trying to play those roles. That would be fun.
The well, like it's like I'm seeing like what Andy's doing and Ari Aster and Peel and the whole uh cinematic universe idea. I'm hopeful going forward with horror movies. I know the next big one I think is a Candyman
Yeah.
remake by Jordan Peele,
Yeah.
and there was like I think there was one single trailer of that where it was all just kind of like a shadow puppet show, and I don't know, something about that is just like really like okay, this looks good. Like
I think it's okay for those, for especially something like Candyman.
yeah,
Ah, you've got these movies that were great in their day, but
yeah,
as an audience, we're way more sophisticated now. We
Yeah.
don't necessarily want the grindhouse, blood and guts all over the thing. We
yeah,
leave that to, Quentin Tarantino and whatever.
yeah.
Um, so I think for someone like, for Peele to do a Candyman, and I heard Tony Todd's in it as well, which is
He is,
awesome.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. To have, someone like Tony Todd come back. Not to say that the Candyman wasn't good, but it was great in the day.
yeah,
But now we've got all these tools, and we have to make this appeal to a more sophisticated audience, a broader audience, because now horror is mainstream.
yeah.
Um, I I would love to see that movie.
I can't wait for it to come out.
Mhm.
Me too.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you could see any horror movie or like Stephen King adaptation rebooted and like you know like like it'd be good, obviously. What would you want to see and why?
I think I would like to see Christine.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was literally about to say that. Thank
Yeah.
God someone agrees.
No, I think Christine would be a really interesting choice.
I think it would as well. Yeah.
I think it would be an
It'd be
interesting
very
choice.
hard to do though. It'd be very hard to do though because like considering the amount of Plymouth Furies that were around back then,
Hmm?
and then considering it now, I think there's only two of the actual screen used ones left that are fully functional. So they're gonna have to either replace the car or like do a kind of a new mock-up of it or
They
They could
could
use a
just build.
Tesla.
They could build one from
a Tesla.
scratch.
They could use a
They could,
Tesla.
yeah, yeah.
Update it, man.
That would
Like kind of
actually be
cool.
poetic
I
if
don't
if
I don't
if
know
they
if
did.
Christine is Christine without the Plymouth Fury though. So
No, I agree. I agree.
yeah,
But
How fun would
I
it be to see a Tesla run at you screen?
that's the thing. That would appeal, but that would appeal to irrational fears that people have now. If it was a Tesla,
yeah,
because we're worried about AI, we're worried about all
sure.
of these things, right? So that could be an interesting spin. But I think, yeah, if you go back to the Fury, and it's Hollywood, man, they can make whatever they want.
Exactly, yeah.
It doesn't take much to reskin something else to look like something, or
Of course, yeah.
do
And
a
like
3D.
it's not like there wasn't many of similar looking cars made. so they could just kind of like take bits off and put bits back on and stuff like that.
But if
But,
you go on Wiki, if you go on Wiki and you see exactly how many of those were made, they could find them. You know,
Yeah.
they'll make 7 or 8 picture cars, and dude, I'll try and get my hands on one.
I would imagine owning that car. Like I know that John Carpenter actually did he did like a music video. I think they remastered like the Christine soundtrack, and they did a music video with one of the cars. And right at the end of it, I think the car pulls up like right next to like a woman, and the window rolls down, and John Carpenter is sitting in the driver's seat. And I was just like, oh, just based on listening to that music, I was just like, they could definitely do this. I know that I don't know if it was the writers or the directors of The Strangers Pray at Night, they expressed interest in doing a Christine remake.
I think that would be a solid remake.
It would. If it was done well now, like obviously you can't just be like, oh, boom, remake. It'd have to be very well thought out and but I think it would be a very good one.
Well, I think they've seen I think, I can't speak for everyone. I can't speak for anyone, but just thinking about Warner Brothers and how much money, from a business standpoint, how much money that it made between the two films. I think they're probably not afraid to throw money behind a good title. So if the case were made for Christine, Warner Brothers has the precedent to say, hey, let's do this, let's throw this at it, let's spend $70 million on this, because we know it's an amazing title.
Yeah.
It's long overdue for a modern reboot, and it would make money.
Much as I love the original, I have to agree with the modern retelling.
There's a lot of modern retellings that don't ever need to happen. There's a lot of things that are just stupid.
That's very true.
But something like that, I mean, we're giving it a new life because of the technology and sophistication. And what would happen in the case of Christine is it would introduce a new generation of audiences to the original.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like what happened with ours. There were people who saw it in 2017 that had never seen the miniseries. But
it is.
Yeah, it's okay.
Exactly.
But when it came out, you log into iTunes, of the movie store, and the number one thing was the miniseries for a while, because people were genuinely interested in it, and I think the same thing would happen with Christine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Disney are big into their remakes because of that, I think, as well.
God.
They love remaking stuff now these days they're kind of like cash. They're like money. So
yeah, I mean, there's some like Dolittle. The idea makes sense to do something like that. You're going to get a mixed result.
Yeah.
But I mean, why not? I mean, there are some movies. I think as long as they're done. This is like my biggest fear when it was coming out. I was afraid of being made classic at like 40. I'll be honest with you. Like, I thought that the proposition of me being classic was absurd. And I honestly thought that, the miniseries would just end up, in the DVD bargain bins and put on the shelf for the rest of eternity, now that a big Hollywood remake has happened. And it's been quite the opposite. So I think there's room enough to embrace the new and respect the old.
Of course, yeah.
I'm thinking they're making a new
Go ahead.
Ghostbusters, aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean, so
yeah,
Afterlife.
I think that's I don't think that's a reboot though. That's a continuation of the original.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
the
the
reboot
original two.
sucked.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah, with the new one, I think they're
Not funny. No.
who are they? No, no. I mean the new one that's coming out. Who's
Finn Wolfhard's in it,
it's
isn't
Finn,
it?
yeah, Finn
yeah,
Wolfhard.
Finn
I'm
Wolfhard's in
trying
it.
to,
Paul
trying
Rudd.
to think.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Paul Rudd. I'm trying to think of who what I'm sorry.
No.
I'm having a brain fart here.
What are you trying to say, man?
Who the Ghostbuster that they're related to is? I'm trying to think.
Oh, it's
Oh, it's to do with glasses.
it's
Isn't it?
Egon's. It's Egon's gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's Spangler's gear that they find.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. But yeah, just I remember when the trailer for that came out, and that I was just like, okay, like this is a breath of fresh air after 2015. Because even though Ernie Hudson was in that one, he made a brief cameo, obviously.
All of
But
them. They all did.
wait, no, not all of them.
Bill Murray.
Yeah, Bill Murray did
I
for
don't-
sure.
Except
Dan
for
Aykroyd?
the one who died. Who's the one who died?
Yeah, that was
I can't think of their names.
Harold Ramis
that was it.
was Egon. He's gone.
Yeah, but the rest of
But
them all
every-
made cameos.
They all did.
I
Yeah.
don't-
All three of them.
Was-
Bill Murray was in
was
it.
Dan Aykroyd?
Yes. He was the taxi driver who said he wasn't afraid of ghosts. That was the funny part because he was a Ghostbuster.
Wow, that's so funny. But no, like I feel like instead of doing like they did a reboot for that one, but the new one is just a continuation. I feel like that's very. It's a good way to go about it. Like,
What you think of the reboot? Think it was good? Yeah, you. The horror video.
No, I liked it. It had its.
yeah,
I think it had its moments where it was painful.
Yes.
But I'd give it an 8 out of 10, honestly.
Really?
Wow. I do because if you look at the original Ghostbusters, you've got all the expectations, right? You're telling a similar story.
Yeah.
You're changing the gender. You are it's something that hadn't really been done before.
Yeah.
that's true.
And I think the performances were great. I think it went into the Ghostbusters universe, knowing full well, with a cast of Saturday Night Live alum as well as were the others. It was meant to be camp.
Yeah,
I get that. Yeah.
I liked Chris's performance in it. He was like kind of playing the very dumbed down assistant. I think that
He's
was
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is so good.
yeah.
He's such a good actor, man. He's awesome.
mean,
seen
he's
all
Thor.
exactly, he's Thor on. I mean,
He was also in Cabin in the Woods, which was pretty funny. It was pretty much a parody of the thing while keeping the horror aspect as well. The whole genre. Yeah.
yeah. Right. No.
So I liked it. I did like it. I liked
Fair
I
enough.
liked the movie. I liked it for what it was. It's. I'll be happy with Afterlife. Continuing on the original brand. I think it's totally cool.
Yeah.
I thought the remake was kind of camp. I mean, to a level that none of the other Ghostbusters movies were. Right? It was almost like a lampoon of Ghostbusters, and I don't mean that to be like misogynistic or anything. I love their
No.
performances.
No,
I liked
I
it.
get you.
I liked it. Just it wasn't. It's not a universe I'd care as much about
Yeah.
because I'm so vested in the other one. There's no.
Yeah.
I don't have room in my brain for it. Let's put it that way.
No, yeah, that makes sense. It's a bit like the X-Men movies after a while, because of like how big Marvel was getting, because the last few of them, like Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix,
Oh, there were
they didn't
Dark
do so
Phoenix.
well,
Dark
compared
Phoenix was
to
a complete flop.
compared
And Dark
to
Phoenix is one
say,
of the huge parts of like the X-Men comics as well. So the fact that that movie was bad and it's meant to be like their best
mm,
wasn't really, yeah.
people were on the
Oh,
MCU train then, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, Thanos is coming!" So, nobody
yeah.
had
So
time for it.
everyone's just kind of like, okay, X-Men who at the moment, and now that Disney owned Fox and everything, I feel people like are really excited about mutants being introduced and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that.
I think the cross pollination is inevitable. It's going to happen.
Oh
Mm.
yeah, like we just don't know how long we're gonna have to wait now. I'd say that start introducing like they won't have massive characters for probably another 10 years.
No,
But I think they
definitely.
might start introducing like mutants and stuff over the next
I think
maybe
Hulk
5
versus
Hulk
Wolverine,
versus Wolverine is
that's
a
been talked
great
about.
movie that's on the way, yeah,
Yeah,
which
in
is
the
pretty
talks
crazy.
anyway. Mm.
Like you never thought you'd get that because of all these, the way it was. Because first you had like obviously the Raimi trilogy for Spider-Man, and then X-Men and all the Fantastic Four movies and everything. And like if someone told you, oh yeah, and like say 30 years from now you're gonna have Spider-Man and the Avengers and like the X-Men and Fantastic Four and everything, you'd be like, oh no, you're insane. Like
Yeah, no.
that could never happen.
No, I mean, right now it's the age of holy shit, I can't believe we let Disney get away with that. Bye. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like there's going to be some serious nerd porn happening. Finally,
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
I mean, finally, I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be cool.
Oh
I
my.
mean, I'm kind of burnt out on the MCU personally.
Really?
So
Oh wow.
yeah. But I think it'll be nice to have some new life
Mm.
Yeah.
pumped into the DC universe.
Are you gonna go see Black Widow?
Yeah, dude. Are you
Mm.
kidding?
I was watching this video and they were trying to explain how she might be alive, because in one of the trailers she's wearing this mask, and in the comics her and her sister used to swap faces with one another. So there's this massive theory that her sister is actually in
And it's her
Endgame,
sister instead
and that she's
in
like
Endgame.
trapped in some massive Russian camp.
What like Hopper and Stranger Things?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
he's gonna
was
be in it as well. So
dude. There was a girl that I met at a convention in like Indianapolis last year.
yeah.
Super sweet, super like Stranger Things fan, and she had an
Yeah.
absolute meltdown over Hopper. Um, right? I think intervention was necessary um, because you didn't watch past the credits.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you're fucked.
they talk about the American in the
Like
camp.
Mm.
yeah.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
that trailer came out a few months ago with him in the snow, and everyone was just like, boom. And then sadly, we got struck with all this
They,
bullshit.
yeah,
And
no, it's I wish I was anywhere else, honestly.
yeah,
I want to say I love my country, man. I do. There are some things that I do enjoy.
yeah,
Um, but I'd be happier elsewhere. I'd feel safer elsewhere.
yeah,
I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. Where I live right now, it's you have the sensibilities of people in the Midwest, more or
Mm.
less. And I'm not trying to be disparaging, but California is not all a bunch of liberals. There are a lot of people who are not taking this seriously.
Yeah.
My mom passed away from COVID, so I mean it has hit us personally, and I'm looking at all these other countries, and there's data that you can find anywhere, at the drop of a hat, that suggests that the United States is singularly losing people unnecessarily. And I mean, it's been a burden, and it's shut down business and industry, and even entertainment. We're trying to figure out how to get back, and people are doing so at extreme risk. But we don't really have a choice, man. We don't have a government that really they're shelling out money to people, to the wrong people. We're not lifting up our citizens. It's sad. I mean, I see countries that are helping people with 70%. So as much as 80% of their income in the meantime, and it's not a gift, but it's helping people maintain some normalcy and incentivizing people to stay home and just get over this. And they're doing it rather successfully. United States, we're going in the complete opposite direction because we've got a population of people who don't believe in science, and don't really care about one another. So, where in Ireland are you guys, by the way?
Oh, we're in
we're in
Offaly,
Offaly.
like right in the middle of it, of Ireland, to be honest.
Just trying to think.
You wouldn't heard of any of this, no?
I'm working on my geography right now. Yeah, so okay. So,
Have you been to Ireland before?
I've done the ring, but I didn't do anything in the middle.
It's okay.
Like Tralee,
Okay.
up to Galway,
Tralee,
Donegal to Dublin.
Cork, and then back up to Dublin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I mean,
I'll have to come
people
see the
usually
middle.
there's apparently we have, what is it, the most haunted castle in Ireland?
Yeah.
In our county,
Yeah.
and that's about it. We don't have much else in Offaly, really.
No.
Nah, it's Dublin. You get most people go there. Belfast, yeah, you get people go there. Cork and Kerry are huge kind of touristy spots. I went down there I went down to Kerry there last week myself, and
it's sort of idyllic. I like it over there.
It is very nice in places. Around here, it's there's not much scenery, and it's kind of just spread out towns, villages, stuff like that. And I went down to Kerry, and I was just this place isn't half bad. Because there's mountains everywhere, and you're right along the coast, and
yeah, it's beautiful.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
I was supposed to be in Ohio if it wasn't COVID. I was going to go visit my aunt and uncle. They live over there.
Are they trying to come back? Honestly, I went looking for any semblance of genealogical identity that I could cling to see about moving to Ireland. I thought about it. I would love to. I'd love to move there in a heartbeat. I'd be unemployable, of course. So that's
there's no entertainment over here. It's not as big as UK or America. It's very scared. Now, I'll admit we're getting better. We had a show come out recently.
Yeah, we've had a few good shows now. A few Irish shows over the past few years. We've had Young Offenders, and then Normal People was a breakout show.
Yeah, the guy who started Young Offenders, he's been up for an Emmy. It's fucking cool.
See,
dude, I'm still a lifelong fan of Father Ted.
I love Father Ted.
That show is so camp and so it's hilarious, man.
We had one of the guys on the show. We had did you ever see the episode where someone steals the whistle?
Yeah.
We had the guy who stole the whistle on.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Father Damo.
That's right.
It was pretty funny.
Father Damo. Oh my god. Yeah, nobody like Graham Norton. He got a little break there.
He's huge. And really sad because he's not accepted by the Irish because he moved to the BBC, and then the British don't like him because he's Irish. So poor guy.
Yeah, but he's crying. He's crying all the way to the bank.
Exactly.
But that show so irreverent and so like funny, and I I heard that the actor passed away, some years ago, a heart attack or something. That
Yeah,
was
he
Father Ted. I
died.
forget his name.
He died the day after they stopped filming.
Oh Jesus, yeah,
He never got to see the last season. Like, it's mad.
that's terrible.
And then the actor who played Jack died on the same day, years after.
Right. I mean, fairly recently though. Father
Yeah,
Jack,
yeah.
the guy who played Father Jack, just died.
He died
Pretty
recently, yeah.
That,
But they died on the
that's
same
bad.
day, like the exact same, the same date. It's mad.
Insane.
That was so funny. It's an ecumenical matter. No,
Oh,
I
that
love that
indeed.
show. Love that show.
Yeah, but no, but, like the thing with Irish television is that most of the time it's premiered on BBC first.
Sure.
Young Offenders comes out on BBC before it comes out here. Normal People, I knew that came out on BBC before it came out here because I watched it and I'd already thought it came out on RTV, and then it was like, oh, the premiere of Normal People, and I was just like, what? like they got it weeks before us, and I'm just like,
Then the RTE tried to have it removed because
no,
it was like the
why they do it.
longest
Yeah, it was the
television
longest
sex
sex
scene.
scene
It was 4
ever
minutes
shown in
long.
Ireland.
It
4
just
minutes
sounds.
long.
It sounds like the old, like 30 years ago, the Japanese console wars. Like, I had a guy in Studio City that I would get video games from, and the only thing I couldn't play were RPGs because they were all Japanese. But I could get titles for like Super Nintendo, Neo Geo, whatever, like
Yeah.
6 months. It would take 6 months for the titles to come out in the States because they had to be sanitized. They had to be purified. Like bosses who would fart at you had to be changed to like yelling at you. Like literally, they had to reprogram games so they'd be fit for American consumption. Hello. So yeah, I used to have to have a guy bring in games from Japan, and we'd have to modify the cartridges so I could play the damn game because I wasn't gonna wait. And if I was in your shoes, I'd probably have to go. I'd have to go watch the shows on BBC because I can't wait. I have no patience whatsoever.
Yeah,
I'd take a road trip and watch the shows and come back and then tell everybody I've seen it already. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get why they do it though, because like if it's shown on RT, it's not going to reach very many people. It'll reach Ireland, yeah, but like the UK audience would be a lot bigger, and then it'll come out here as well. So
I
like,
see.
yeah, I can see why they do it, but I still think it's unfair.
Yeah, I mean it's yours.
Exactly, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff could be said about that in Ireland.
Yeah, let's stray away from the politics though, because Jesus Christ, I don't want to get into that. Yeah.
So yeah, no politics, but no.
Yeah.
This place is. I've lost patience with it, so I'm looking for alternatives. To be honest with you, Canada, Ireland.
Well, if you
Mexico.
ever end up here, please let us know, and
I will.
for a pint.
Yeah, and a job, right?
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well-
So thanks for coming on.
No, my
Yeah,
pleasure.
great.
Thanks for having me.
So,
It's been a nice afternoon.
And incredible.
Awesome.
Thank you as well for watching. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, tell your grandma about the podcast, and take her handy.
Good luck.